Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream chat. In this chat, I'd like to talk about influence peddling in the West and how influence peddling and cronyism and patronage, all the things that go with it, is moving quickly to replace skills, knowledge, merit, achievement. All these things are being moved out the way, and influence peddling is going in to fill the vacuum, if not directly pushing out all forms of merit. So consistent with the end of the Western middle class and the rapid decline of the middle class, and it's joined at the hip handmaiden, the demise of all forms of merit. As long as we have merit, we have a middle class. You take away merit, there's no middle class. We also have the phenomena of merit being replaced by runaway influence peddling. Now, cronyism and patronage have been around since before the Egyptian pharaohs, since before the pyramids were built. Well, what is remarkable today is that influence peddling is not simply existing alongside what is left of merit, but actively replacing it, and any and all financial and human transactional levels. So it's up and down and across the economy. It's not just in one sector or a couple of sectors. It's spread now everywhere. Not helped, by the way, with large-scale migration from third world countries where cronyism and corruption and influence peddling are just how things are done. That they just don't know any other way. That is, scientific reason, facts and empirical data and objective measured achievements have all been thrown overboard and have been replaced with cronyism and influence peddling. A society of who knows who and gathering in whispering huddles and cabals. It's all very third world, piss poor banana republic type behaviour. What made the wealthy West wealthy was not being like that, was not being into cronyism. Well, there's always been some around, but in terms of the majority of the economy, of not being like it. That's why the West was wealthy. We had merit, the others didn't. Is the West competing now as to just how much of a banana republic it can all become and how quickly and swiftly it can get there and become maybe the primary banana republics of the planet? It used to be my job to travel the world doing business, and I went to plenty of third world dirt poor places where no matter how dirt poor, it always has a super rich elite. In fact, some of the top 1,000 richest people in the world, many of them come from these third world dirt poor places. And you can look at countries like Mexico and Indonesia and so on. It constantly amazed me in those places how merit played almost no part in how money moved around and who made money and how much money they made. Merit in those places was something that applied to the peasants alone. For example, merit may be on your the chef or the cook you have in your house. Is the cook good or not good? The merits along those lines, but not for anything else. For the peasants, merit would decide whether they had a job or not, because there's always far fewer jobs than there is people in these places, which is how it's going to be in the West fairly soon. But it had nothing to do, merit had no effect on pay scales as we would understand it. Corruption, favours, influence peddling, who knows who, payoffs, decide everything in these places. And to give you an idea how sort of dirt poor some of them are, I was staying in a hotel and with some of the wealthy elite. We were dining, and the waiters would come along and throw the scraps of food off our plates over a wall, and there would be this scuffling on the other side. You could just about hear, and what it was these were the peasants taking the scraps off our plates, being given the scraps off our plates. This is how poor these places are, and yet how rich the elite is. And we were dining 5-star with a 5-star quality that would be at home anywhere in the world. And yet there were these dirt poor people, many of them handicapped, who were scrambling for scraps just on the other side of the wall. This is the contrast in the rich and the poor, and I think we're heading that way in the West. It may take some time to get there, but it's definitely where things are heading. Now, these banana republic elites, who are very pleasant and polite, determine the lifestyle they want to live. Then they go out and take however much money is required to fund that lifestyle. And of course, they have to take it from the peasantry, and they see themselves as completely entitled, morally entitled. They're morally superior beings, where an existence and an ownership of wealth and prestige is their unique human right. They see nothing wrong with it. They see there's the peasants who pretty much deserve to die and deserve to be exploited, and then themselves. So they see the world that way and have no qualms about it. There's no guilty consciences there, nor is there in the people who are destroying the West and taking our livelihoods away from us. These elites cared as much for the peasants as we might stepping on ants as we walk through the park. They understood that cronyism and corruption kept the money moving in small and narrow circles, and even conceded that it bred laziness, inefficiency, and waste. They conceded that it kept their countries poor. But why was that a problem? It was the peasants' lot to live as they did, and if the elites needed more, they would just take it from the peasants, or certain groups of peasants that they didn't like or particularly disapproved of. Just bear with me here. I've hit the wrong button here. Influence peddling, I guess we should define it before going any further. Influence peddling is where you install your son as a director on big bucks for a Ukrainian energy firm, even though he knows nothing about the company, he knows nothing about the business they're in, he can't speak a word of the language. He's not worth anything, but he gets the job and he gets it on big bucks. Influence peddling is where who you know is viewed as the only value proposition, indeed the essence of the transaction, be it financial or special favours, rather rewards. You install your wife as the CEO of a company, even though her only work experience is sitting in a manicurist chair getting her nails done. The bigger issue, I guess, is how far and wide this influence peddling, replacing merit, is spreading through the Western economy and the wider social structure generally. And again, there are two areas that it's coming from. Well, one is the elites wanting to replace merit and wanting influence peddling because that suits them and means they can keep their wealth and multiply it. But also coming in from the other side, where we're getting masses of third world peasants coming in, and the only world they understand and know is corruption and influence peddling. So we're being squeezed in from both sides. In fact, it's more likely the West is going to become a corrupt banana republic type dirt poor basket case than we're going to maintain or retain any Western values, certainly in that commercial sense anyway. Now, the CEO of a firm that sells complex high-tech products for the manufacturing sector, and these are very high-tech products that fit into, say, production lines, things like that, says that he will only hire technical salespeople based on who they know, regardless of whether they know anything about the products, the technology, or how they work, or the value they deliver, or if they can explain it to a customer or show the customer how it's going to help their business. That's now relevant. It's who you know. Do you have a customer list? Who's on that customer list? I don't care if they're morons, just as long as they know the right people, he added. Now, this is something that's, if you look at, say, the rise of Germany and the United States, particularly in the late 1800s, in the second phase of the Industrial Revolution, something that was seen and recognised around the world was that German and American, particularly the German technical salespeople, were very, very good. They were well trained to the highest standards. And Germans in particular, they had to master English as well. And this is something that people wonder why are German machine tools and things like that still today successful around the world. It's because they got very good technical salespeople. But all this is being lost, and this is part of the reason why the West was wealthy and became wealthy and kept their wealth. But again, this is being lost. It has reached a point where being professionally capable and having achievements in one's own right is actually seen now as a disqualification. Professionally capable people have a much lesser reliance on influence peddling and patronage, so they are proportionally less valuable in a non-merit environment. So when you take merit away, then the best, most qualified, professionally capable people, they do well in the merit environment. You take merit away, then these people aren't really needed so much anymore. And what's needed is again, this influence peddling, the people who know people. So contacts within the upper echelons of, say, the public service and politicians' offices, the bigger NGOs, the boardrooms of the financial sector in particular, and things like knowledge of how to discreetly arrange for drugs and hookers to be delivered anywhere at any time. These are now the most prized things. So if somebody comes to you with the hot shit resume, they've done this, achieved that, produced such and such, nah, don't want to know, buddy. What I want to know is who you know. That's all I'm interested in. So one man has developed many contacts in one area of the public service and has also been forcibly detained in an insane asylum on 3 occasions. That's dragged off, straitjacketed, the whole 9 yards. And he is so medicated, at times he literally drools. Yet he is hired on a $400,000 a year retainer, plus bonuses, by the way, just for the people he knows in this particular public service sector. Another individual who's been in drug and alcohol rehab many times. Fuck, I've done it again. Oh, here we go. Another individual who's been in drug and alcohol rehab so many times that he's lost count is employed by a large financial institution to scare up drugs and hookers on demand, and he's paid big bucks to do it. He boasts that he knows all the reputable madams and socialite drug dealers in town. Another CEO was talking about a really smart, well-qualified sales director type of guy he had interviewed. He spoke glowingly about how good this guy was, but pointed out he just couldn't hire him because he didn't know enough people. So it doesn't matter how good the guy is. Just to indicate how insane it's become, I mentioned, this is in a lunch, I mentioned in passing to a CEO that I had lunch previously with the brother of a heavyweight politician who's quite a well-known state governor. When I mentioned this, and again, I mentioned it in passing, his head shot around and he started asking me if I wanted to work for him. Tell me how much you want to get paid and we'll talk some more, he said, as we got into our cars and drove off. No, I didn't follow it up, but it's just a small illustration of how crazy, this who you know things become. Not that it wasn't an issue throughout time. It's the extent of it that I'm referring to here. So we've entered a situation where the people who are inept and don't know what they are doing outnumber those who do. And the ratio of that is deteriorating further. In the greater equation of Western wealth creation, merit sits on one side of the line and cronyism and corruption and so forth on the other. Now, since the Industrial Revolution and even earlier in the mercantile age, the bigger part of the economy was on the merit side of the line, which is why that means there's more acts that are meritoriously determined, more people on the merit side, more workers on the merit side, more decisions on the merit side, more investments on the merit side. And that was why the West was uniquely wealthy among all nations of the planet. Again, the white West was far and ahead of all the other nations in terms of this wealth creation, and merit played a huge, huge part in that. But it's no longer so. Almost any job, contract or position that pays above the average wage is fast becoming the sole domain of patronage and influence peddling, outright corruption, or corruption of purpose. And corruption of purpose, I mean, with race and gender quotas, affirmative action, and of course, circular favours on carousels and kickbacks and that sort of stuff. The effect of all this will be the same as it is in the dirt poor basket case economies of the world. You behave like the basket case economies of the world, then you become them. Wealth will gravitate to the influence peddlers and away from those who produce and create. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to see how this will play out. Do the folks who are actively destroying the West ever stop to think about their grandchildren or their grandchildren's children, the sort of standard of living they're going to have in the years to come? I don't think so. You've been with Tastus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.